Rogers, June 27th, 2018. I know that you've been a major part of my life in this church, and I'd like for you to share what it's been like to be here at Myrtle Grove.
Well, in 1980, 64, Bud said, May of 64, I had passed, we live on 79th, so I passed this church many times, many times. I was raised Baptist, Bud was raised Episcopalian. We went to the Baptist church, and he didn't like that. I went to the Episcopal church. I didn't care for that. So I never knew anyone in the Methodist church, but I just decided this church looked like I should visit. I did, and Rex Mixon was the pastor, and he preached a powerful sermon that Sunday. And the next day, he showed up at my house, and him and I sat on our living room couch, and I accepted the Lord that day. And he told me, he got down on his knees with me, and he said, Jean, I don't care what church you go to. You can go any church you want. But he said, as long as you accept Jesus in your heart. And that did it for me. Well, that next Sunday, I was baptized here at Myrtle Grove and have been here ever since. Now, Bud, it took him a little longer because, you know, he's a little bit hard-headed. He was a member of St. Simon's on the Sound in Fort Walton Beach, and that's where he intended to keep his membership. Well, Rex Mixon every Sunday would ask, who's visiting in the congregation? Would you please stand up so we can welcome you? Well, Bud kept standing up, and finally Rex Mixon said, Bud Rogers, sit down. He said, you're not a visitor. And it wasn't too long after that he did join the church in 69, I think. But he helped remodel this sanctuary. The pipe organ got bought, and he helped put that in. He made all the sconces on the wall. He's done a lot woodworking in the church. He served on the trustees, building and grounds. He was men's club president.
You gonna let me talk?
In a minute. Right after Rex Mixon and I joined the church, the men's fellowship, men's club, it's men's fellowship then, came one night. And of course, you know, he was there, and they came in and started talking, and they said, well, we'd gladly like to have you in our fishermen's club.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his ears just perked up real big, and he said, well, I'm real interested in that. And they said, well, we're fishermen of men. Well,
they got me hooked anyway.
Yeah, they put the sinker, hook, line, and sinker, and and once he come in, he joined the men's club and started frying fish, and has been frying fish all these years since.
I started frying fish, I think, in 1966.
And y'all did used to catch them, didn't you?
Oh,
Y'all
yeah.
catch 'em,
Yeah, I worked for Dr. Bobby Shows, and he had a little boat and would take them out on Thursday night. Jim Green, Bud and Dwight Savage, Hedger would go out and catch them, and then all the Modern Sam's friends, Dwayne and all of them out there.
Probably about 14 or 15
Shep.
men come over.
They'd come over and help clean. Our backyard was full of nothing but fish scales. But, you know, maybe that helped us. Anyway, I joined the choir. Kathy Sloan was choir director then, and that's way back. And I was in adult Bible class. Frank, what was his name?
So,
That died over in Lillian.
Collier,
was teacher then.
Frank Collier.
And after a little while, I got a bug in my rug, and Bill Brown and John Martineau and I sat in the workroom, and we formed Modern Sam's. We started Modern Sam's, and Pat Schumack taught the class for a long, long time. We've had many, many teachers, but we've had so many, many friends. And when I say friends, it's almost family. I mean, all these years
Yeah.
they've been there. You know,
What were some of the times that you remember the church coming to your aid the most?
there's so many, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I think
Jean, tell me about that quartet you and Marge were in. Jamie? Was Jamie?
That was the Lemon Sisters.
we were not the Lemon Sisters.
You were not?
No, we were
No.
Sweet Accords.
Okay.
Marge Bird, Janie Brown, and Joe Benton, and I. And when we formed, we asked the congregation to help name us. And that's what I think Jim Bird come up with, the Lemon Sisters. And wasn't you? Bill Brown.
I think.
Should have known.
And John Boston, he had a Volkswagen van back then. He said, well, we can paint it yellow and y'all can tour my bus with the lemon on the top. But we had a wonderful time with that. We did go to other churches and sing. Our biggest trip was to Quitman, Georgia. That's where Joe Benton was from. But we went over to Larry Anderson in Mobile. We sang at his church. We sang at Spanish Fort. Anyway, that was a really, really good time. But this church has meant so much to me. Mabel Shera. There was a lady that worked in the nursery. Her name was Mrs. Worthman. She was a German lady, very big, stout. And she sat there on Sunday morning and just held her arms out, ready for your babies to come. And they loved her. And my Robbie, when he was born, that's where, and she would call him her baby, you know. But you and your mother were a very important part in this church for us. And when you left, it broke my heart. But then when I found you again over married lady, you was Patty Casey then, but found you over after Rick Russell in Desert Storm, is that what it was called? You had your church had a special prayer, a service for them, and found you and Steve then. But it wasn't too long after that you came back to Myrtle Grove and has been here since. But Bud has been very active with all the men's stuff, and we just enjoyed, gone through all these preachers, but we've enjoyed everyone. Enjoy the love that you feel when you walk in the door.
It's your turn.
Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't say a whole lot now because she's already taken over everything. But that's all right.
Story of your life?
Yeah. Well, you can tell who wears the pants in the family.
Oh.
But no, I've enjoyed being in this church. Like Jean said, it's hard for me to go from one church to another because my sister always called me and asked me when I was going to change my membership, and I said, there's no need to change a membership. I don't need to belong to two churches. And I belonged to Episcopal Church in Fort Walton. My father helped start the church as far as breaking the ground. Now, what religion he had, I don't really know that much, but I know my mother was a very devoted Christian. And he passed away when I was 7 years old. But since that time, I became a member of that church, was baptized and confirmed in it. Became an acolyte for years right on up till I was about 22. I mean, Jean and I was even married, and I was still serving on the altar. And had a lot of good experiences in that. And then, like she said, I moved to Pensacola to work in 1963. at Mason and DeLeon sheet metal shop. And in '64, we decided to move to Pensacola. And like she said, we tried to find churches, wasn't happy in none of the churches. And she wanted to go here, and I said, well, okay, whatever. So after we started going, that's when I started meeting men and enjoying being in the church. And Jim Avery come to me one time, asked me if I'd like to do work with him doing the fish fry. I said, sure, man, that's right up my alley. So that was in '66, I believe. He went and borrowed a stove from somebody. And we cleaned it up, and we started fish fry. And I think I've missed maybe 2, maybe 3 fish cooker times in this church.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's just been a big part to me, you know. And of course, like she said, I was vice president one time for the Methodist men, and then I was president. And the year I was president, we had to have a party, you know, the women's and Christmas party for the widows and stuff. And so we found a guy that played as Santa Claus. So when we talked to him, he said he'd be glad to do it. So that's how that got started, having a Santa Claus.
Yes.
And he was very good at it. In fact, I think he's done jobs, you know, like that all the time. He had his suit and everything. And there was one occasion there, the women would come up and sit on his lap, and he'd talk to them, you know. And one lady started crying and didn't know what was wrong, afraid he had offended her or something. And she said, no. She said, it's the first time I've ever sat in a Santa Claus lap. We I have a pamphlet somewhere where he spoke about that in this church. So that started that. And like Jean said, I just got involved in the church, and I love the church. And the church is the people that's in it.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen a church that has the level of involvement of men that this church has. I've always been impressed with that.
Well, Bill McDermott got me started in doing lay witness missions with him. And then one year we went to Durango, Mexico for a trip for about a week, I think it was. And that was very exciting. We had plenty of hot dogs to eat every day. I found out what a Mexico backhoe was. That's a wheelbarrow and a pick. Because that ground was so hard you had to pick it. We was making a foundation for the church. And of course, other churches came in after and kept on, you know, building
I'm
it
glad
up.
you clarified that, because I was thinking Durango, Colorado.
Mexico.
No, it's Mexico.
It was the one
Durango.
Quentin went on.
Okay, but
Durango.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
yeah.
They told us when we got on the bus over there, after we got we flew to, is it Brownsville, Texas?
McAllister.
Yeah. And got off the plane there, and they said we'd probably be on an old bus. And I'll have chickens and pigs and whatever else carrying on it. So that was, like I said, it's a good experience, and we had a good time. The last day we was there, they came out and fed us real well, all Mexican food. I mean, they really brought it on, you know. So I was enjoyed that. And I've just been involved in the church ever since.
You asked several others about some of the most important times in the church. One of my favorite times, and I'm a crybaby, so this, you know, I'll probably cry, but when we were going to expand the sanctuary, Susan Ferris was choir director, and we stood right out there in that little ground, and we sang, "We are standing on holy grounds." And the Lord spoke to me. I mean, we got through the song, but we are standing on holy grounds in Myrtle Grove United Methodist Church.
Yes.
And let me tell you one more story, and it's not because he's here. And both those couples out there mean so much to Bud and I, Marge and Jim. and Dwayne and Claudia. But when Barbara Russell was passing away, I saw the true side of Dwayne Savage, and I've been impressed with him ever since. What he did for Barbara. That's all I got to say.
I got one other little story you want to, I know you're not going to put all this thing on,
Yes, he is.
huh? Oh, no. Anyway, I couldn't carry a tune if you put it in a bucket. But anyhow, I decided I'd try to get in the choir a little bit.
The not so good choir.
Yeah, the not so good choir, that's at 8 o'clock or 8:30. What was it, Dwayne? 8:30. And I was enjoying it, so I stayed for the 8:30 choir, and then came to Sunday school. Then I stayed for the 11 o'clock choir, the big choir. And anyway, I was singing all two of them there. And who was it?
Susan Ferris.
Yeah, Susan Ferris was the choir director. And she asked something about doing a quartet, and I said, whoa, She said, yeah, you can do it. I said, no, no way. Well, she had asked a couple other guys that sing with me, and they said, no, they didn't want to be associated with me. What was this?
Dean Julian.
Yeah, Dean Julian said, yeah, I'll do it with you, bud. I said, okay. Well, we ventured out and done it one time. I don't know what it sounded like because nobody recorded it. But they never asked me again. They moved me around in the choir, soprano, alto, bass. I mean, they tried
sang
everywhere.
what he wanted to sing. He didn't
You know.
know music.
Anyhow, they didn't ask me to sing no more. I mean, as far as singing a quartet or anything.
Solos.
Solo. But like I say, it's been a good church, and it's the people that's in it.